So people have been asking me to do videos on Avatar: The Last Airbender for a long time, and I get why it is because it really kind of fits into my niche. Because I like animated shows, I like sci-fi, fantasy. It does really seem to be the kind of thing that I would like because I like a lot of similar anime, and I like. I'm a huge Teen Titans fan, for instance. And I did like Avatar: The Last Airbender. I watched it in university. I really, really liked it. But the reason I kind of haven't gone to it is it kind of got ruined for me when Legend of Korra came out. Now, to be fair, I never watched Legend of Korra, but just people told me about stuff in it, and between like the character assassination they do, like Toph is a thought now, and like it just seems like all the characters just got like screwed up in the aftermath of like the series. And you have like Republic City, you have like the United Nations, you have like all this just weird. You have the open promotion of degeneracy in a kids show. Like they just have all this like crap they added on, and like the comics and all the extra canonical materials just seem to have made this thing worse in every way possible. Now, there's some universes that benefit from the extra canonical stuff. Like I think Star Wars did. I think A Song of Ice and Fire does. Like I really like Fire and Blood. I really like the world of Ice and Fire. The additional lore there is good. As for things that the additional lore has made worse, Ava is kind of my major example of that, as is Harry Potter. And we can talk about I've talked about my issue with the lore involving Ava that's outside of the TV series in the past, and we can talk about the Harry Potter extended universe some other time. But all of that seems like it kind of ruins the original. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and he's like, "Look, Argent, it's not really fair for you to judge the original series based on all the stuff that came after it. Like you have to look at these characters as they're presented in the series. You have to look at the themes. You have to look at it as it happened and just treat it as its own thing and not think about like all the other nonsense that came later." And I was like, "Okay, that's fair." So that being said, let's get into it. So I opted for this one to do a series of, I don't know if mini character profiles is really the right term, but I'm going to do a character profile of each character on Team Avatar. So I'll just talk a little bit about them, their role in the series, what I think about them, and just kind of provide my analysis. So let's go right to left, because that's how I feel. So Toph was probably my favorite character in this show. I liked her ever since she first showed up. In my opinion, I think she's by far the strongest character in the series, like in terms of raw power. I kind of feel like everyone else just kind of pales beneath her. So Toph's background is she's from a very wealthy family. She's blind, but she can see by listening to the vibrations on the ground because she's a master earthbender. So like when people like move and walk or whatever, she kind of has like a form of echolocation that goes through the ground. And I kind of find like writing blind characters must be really hard as someone like who has eyesight, because you probably just forget things. Like you might just like say, oh, they looked at this, or like particularly if you're writing in a first person perspective, oh, they looked over there, oh, the car was blue, or like something else that they wouldn't be able to know. And so like Toph felt the need to her parents kind of spoiled her and coddled her, and but also were kind of distant from her, which is pretty kind of a common trope in series like this. So she kind of did is going through her rebellious phase. So she learned from whatever they were, the badger moles or whatever they're called, the secrets of earthbending, and she became the blind bandit who is like a champion earthbender. So I just always really liked Toph. First off, she's just adorable. I really like her character design. She does look like well, she is Chinese, but she does look like a little China doll. And I do kind of like the contrast. I kind of like She reminds me kind of like Edelgard in this perspective, because Edelgard in Fire Emblem Three Houses is very delicate and very pretty, and she's also, I think, the shortest character in the game. But she's like a strength character who uses axes and wears super heavy armor. And the juxtaposition's pretty funny. And Toph kind of looking like this cute little China doll, but being able to just basically beat anybody in the series is a good thing. And I never really found her like bitchy or annoying or anything. She's just kind of a kid who's kind of just starting to grow up. And is kind of, she has that kind of thing a lot of people have where they're very mature in some aspects, but still very immature in others. Maturity doesn't always come at like an even rate. Someone can be very intellectually mature, but not very emotionally mature, or they can be very like street smart or very able to read people but not very book smart or something like that. So like these things kind of vary. So yeah, I never found Toph annoying. I never really found her bitchy or anything like that. I really enjoyed kind of her sense of humor, her kind of zaniness, her continual optimism. They kind of got, I think, the Earth, because she's the Earthbender, so I think they kind of gave her a really good down to earth personality, pun intended. Someone who's kind of a bit more laid back than some of the other members of the team, and someone who's just kind of very naturally optimistic. Probably to me, like the biggest miss thing with her was I really liked her and Sokka together. I thought it was a very interesting like potential shipping, and I thought they had a lot more chemistry, honestly, than Ong and Katara did. But yeah, I just love Toph. Like, I like when she complains like about. She has some really good like one-liners. Like when she complains that she didn't go on the life-changing journey with Zuko, or like when she declares that she's Melon Lord, and I just like Toph a lot. So Sokka to me is kind of like the most waste of space, because like I just like people have said like Argent, like you're too hard on Sokka. He was an important part of Team Avatar. Like to me, like it seemed like he was supposed to be there to show that like non-benders could do stuff too. But I just remember him being completely useless and never really doing anything of any value except maybe in like one or two episodes. Like his kind of salient thing is supposed to be okay, he doesn't have magical powers, but he's like a really skilled warrior and he's really intelligent. Other than making like Appa armor, like it's mostly an informed ability. I can't really recall him doing much that's intelligent. He kind of seemed like he was really stupid. The smartest member of the team seemed like Katara, followed by Toph, with Sokka and Ong kind of being like just really dumb, to be honest. So like all he really did was just have like unfunny sarcasm and eat meat. It to me it was just a huge missed opportunity because I'm like, okay, I like the angle of having someone who's an int fighter, who's not like a sorcerer or a wizard, but fights with their mind, like who's kind of like a rogue or a mechanist or something. And they could have given Sokka like a repeating crossbow that he custom made, or like some kind of cool steampunky gadgets and armor, and kind of made him like the James Bond character, like the kind of like slightly absent-minded or kind of like sarcastic gadget guy, and he kind of was able to keep up with the rest of them through that. Harder very see in a lot of cases. My biggest issue, I think, with the whole series is the spirit bending nonsense. Like, because me, the whole thing was, it's a bit like Valkyria Chronicles 4, where the whole series was kind of leading up to Ong having to like grow up, and to grow up, and I thought he was gonna have to do it by killing Ozai. Like kind of learn like with all this suffering and stuff, he's gonna be have to be the one to bring an end to it, and that Ozai would never stop until he was killed. And then we just kind of had this like last minute ass pull where it's like, oh, Ong can take away people's bending powers all of a sudden. I'm just like, that's like such a lame cop out because it's a kids show. And I get like because it's a kids show, that's the reason why Sokka sucks. Because if you gave him a repeating crossbow, he'd have to shoot people, and you can't directly shoot people with sharp objects in a kid's show, yada yada. But like that was really lame. And other than that, I don't remember a ton about Ong. I just kind of remember him being like really hyperactive, but without anything to like kind of counter the annoying. Like I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but oftentimes when you have like a really hyperactive main character, there's like something redeemable about them. Like they're cute, or you sympathize with their past, or something like that. That there's something more to them. And I just felt with Ong there wasn't really anything. He was just kind of an annoying kid who was hyped up on sugar, and I never really felt he did much growing up over the course of the series, despite the things that happened to him. So overall, I really don't like Ong. I'm kind of happy they had the balls to have him wind up with Katara, but it doesn't really make any sense. Um, I don't think that marriage would have worked out at all. But yeah, every time Ong had screen time, I just wished it would cut to somebody else. I don't even like remember that much about him. Then we have Katara, who her and Toph are my two favorite characters. I really like Katara. It's kind of interesting because I kind of went through phases where I liked her initially, then I kind of found her annoying, and then I liked her again. The thing about her is she's the mom character, but she's the mom character done properly. So, in a lot of cases where you have kind of like the older female character who has to like keep everybody in line, they're just kind of annoying, or they're too hard. They're kind of like overbearing. They're kind of like Mrs. Weasley or something like that. And in Katara's like case, I felt that way for a couple of episodes. And then I kind of realized they need a mama bear to put them in line. Or I guess the mama walrus in her case, because she's from the South Pole. But like the people she's with are mostly really irresponsible. Prone to like doing stupid things. They really need someone who's grounded in reality to keep them in line and to just make sure basic stuff gets done, like people eat proper meals, people get to bed, washing gets done, that kind of stuff. Like she's really necessary for the group to function. And I did think she was a very good motherly character. I'm sure her and Ong, she was a very good mother to her and Ong's children. I don't know if they had more than one child, but I'm sure she was a really good mother to them as well. And I just kind of really liked her, almost from the beginning. I just thought that was a really solid character. That was a nurturing, motherly character who sometimes had to put people back in line. That was done right and was done in a very likable way. I really like Katara's character design. I think of all the female characters, I'd say she was probably the best looking. But I just they made her beautiful, but in kind of like a somewhat subtle, subdued way. Just because she is a very modest person. So yeah, I like Katara a lot. Like I said, it's either her or Toph that's my favorite character, and it's kind of interesting because they both have very different personalities, but they're kind of like the most grounded. In this case, I don't mean it. The pun is not intentional. Of the team. And that brings us to Zuko. Now, I know Zuko is like a fan favorite and a lot of people like him. I hated Zuko. I hated him like from the first time I saw him. Much like Sokka, he looks way better when his hair's not done up in that like god awful ponytail. But that's just like where things start. I don't find anything likable about him, to be honest. And I kind of do sympathize with his father for disinheriting him and kicking him out. Like, if I was Ozai, I'd probably rather have Azula take the throne in his place. Like, I just found his whole request to, like, redeem himself, to get, like, to get Ong captured and bring him back to his father so he could win his favor again and he could come back to the family. I just was, like, found that very uninteresting. Um, I didn't find him like relatable or likable. I just found him like really bland and boring as a piece of paper. And Maya's also bland and boring as a piece of paper. So it's like a match made in limbo or something like that. Because, like, what would they even talk about? Neither of them really have a personality. Zuko's just kind of angsty and whines, and, like, that's about it. I know people are probably going to be the most critical for my opinion on him, but, like, I honestly didn't have any feelings towards him. He's kind of like the angsty version of Ong, in which I don't really see a lot that's kind of redeeming about them or that I really like them. And I guess part of it is also just because I really like Azula, and she's probably, along with Katara and Toph, probably my third favorite character. But I always found her a lot more likable than Zuko was. And I guess, like, part of it is I do kind of sympathize more with the Fire Nation than I do with the other well, I do like the Water Tribe. Okay, I sympathize more with the Fire Nation than I do with the Air Nomads or the Earth Kingdom. Because, like, my understanding, I don't know if this is, like, canon or, like, extended canon or whatever, but apparently, like, the Air Nomads were, like, hippie monks that practiced, like, free love or something like that. And I know I said we were just going to stay within the context of this, but I don't know, the Air Nomad seems really annoying to me. So I don't really feel that bad about the Fire Nation wiping them out. And as for the Earth Kingdom, I do, and as you guys know, I do have a bit of that, like, civilizing mission in me, that I kind of do like that aspect of it. I think it was played up a bit more in the live action movie, but I always kind of got this impression that the Fire Nation kind of represented modernism and represented technological and rational advancement, in contrast to kind of like the traditional ways in the traditional religion. And I guess, kind of as a Christian, I prefer scientific rationalism to, like, worshiping deities that, like, spirits and deities that, like, eat people and stuff like that. Like, I'm sympathetic, for instance, to, like, killing the moon spirit, because, like, the idea of some, like, being that isn't God or isn't, like, an angel or something, like, ruling over me as a human kind of bothers me. Like, Christ is my king and God is my king and the angels are his messengers, and I'll bow to other humans. But I don't like this. I like the idea of, like, taking the world for humanity, of, like, science being our gift from God in order to kind of overthrow all these evil, malicious forces. So I was, broadly speaking, kind of sympathetic to the Fire Nation. So Zuko going against it and kind of double crossing his own people, and I get why people say that's not the case. Like, his father was a massive dick, his sister was a sociopath. Although I do really like her as a character. But I don't know, I just always found Zuko really annoying. Like, I found Ong really annoying. It's interesting because, like, the most popular ship for, like, I think in the fandom is Zuko Katara is really common. I don't really know how that would work out. Um, just complete random side note. A shipping I really like is Azula Sokka. It actually works really well, but that's maybe a story for another time. That's up there with my favorite crack pairings, like Ned Cersei, or like Sansa Jamie, or like Marjorie Tyrion, or like stuff like that. So let me know if this format's okay. Just the issue is when I'm doing character profiles, it takes a really long time to do them, or like to do sci-fi pulsi. So if people, like, think it's okay if I just do maybe like a 5 to 10 minute video instead of like a 15 to 20 minute video, and I don't go through like their entire life story in detail, it's just because I have to do a lot of research and a lot of notes, and people seem to want me to put them out more often, and they seem to not care if I maybe condense it a bit more and maybe don't go into as much detail for those. So I'm okay with that. If people are fine with that, I'll try to put these out more often. This one's a bit quicker than they would be just because I was going through 5 different characters. But yeah, if people want sci-fi pulsi or character profiles more often, I'll just shorten them condense them and maybe just try to stick to a couple main points in a brief kind of biographical sketch. That's just a thought. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. God bless. Stay safe, everybody, and I'll talk to you later.